Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. Say, what does Cthulhu have for lunch? Fish and chips. Today, we're looking at Cult of the Deep by BA Games. Cult of the Deep is a hidden role dice game for 48 players where you are a cultist trying to establish your faction's rise to power. Battle for control of rituals and mythical monsters as you seek victory and control the cult. So, how does this game play? Let me tell you. When you start playing Cult of the Deep, you're going to be given a role, okay? And in these roles, one person is going to be the High Priest. Now, the High Priest is going to be able to win this game if all Cultists and heretics die, but you got to remain alive. All right. The Faithful, they're going to win if the High Priest is alive and all Cultists and heretics die. The Kabbalists are going to win if the High Priestess dies and at least one Cultist stays alive. All right. Now you have the Repentant Heretic. All right. They're going to win if they're the last player alive and everybody dies. And then there's the Vengeful Heretic, which you're going to win if you are the last player alive and everyone dies. So, depending on what role you are, depends upon what your victory conditions are going to be. All right. Now, at the end of any round, once any one of the victory conditions are met, which means, say, if the High Priest is dead or any of the other victory conditions happen, then the game is going to immediately end. All right. And we determine who the winner is at that point. All right. Now, during the game, you're also going to have a character, you're going to have a sigil card, and you're also going to have, your role card, which, we just covered. So the character cards, those are going to be face up in front of the table, and those are going to give you an ability that's going to be able to happen throughout the game that you can utilize, okay? And you want to utilize those to the best of your ability because it's kind of a key to winning this game, in my opinion, and we'll cover more on that later, all right? You're going to get a sigil card. Now, a sigil card is a one-time game effect that you're going to be able to use. So use it wisely because once it's used, it's discarded and it's gone forever. So you use it early in the game to try to get you advantage, or do you use it at the end of the game, or even in the middle to try to get everything going the way you want it to? All depends upon how the game is played. All right. Now, this game is going to be played in over several rounds. All right. Starting with the High Priest, what you're going to do is you're going to roll 5 dice. Okay, unless you have a character card or something else that's going to allow you to roll additional dice. But you're going to have your roll phase, in which case you're going to roll your dice. And like Yahtzee style, you're going to be able to re-roll up to 2 times. All right. Now, once every phase is complete, then you need to allow time for other people to potentially respond or do something based on that. Because there's some characters can do things during, say, the roll phase or during the resolve phase or whatnot. So you have to have that little break. Okay. Once you've rolled all your dice and you figure out what all your symbols are going to be, then you're going to commit those dice. Now, the committing the dice and the rolling of dice, you got to kind of pay attention because you need to kind of make sure see where you want to put all your dice. Do you want to put your dice on characters to try to do damage to them? Do you want to put them on yourself to try to heal yourself? Do you want to put them on the altars to try to maybe expedite some of those altars and get those down? Are there keeper abilities on those that you want to put in front of you? Okay, you got to pay attention to those. So you're going to commit all your dice all over the place. Once you've committed your dice, now there's the response phase. Okay. Now during the response phase, at the very beginning of it, you have to let everyone know. Okay, I've committed. Do you want to respond? Now every other player except for the active player gets to respond. All right. And by responding, they can do one of several things. If they have different abilities that will allow them to recommit dice, change dice, or do something else, they can do those at this point in time. You may have Siren coins. Siren coins are going to allow you to recommit a dice from one location to another. You have chant coins. Chant coins are going to allow you to spend any number of those coins, and you can change the face of X number of dice before you commit them, but you cannot change any into crosshairs. So chant coins you're probably going to be using up, early on. Okay. Once the response phase is done or everyone's done doing their stuff, if any of the dice you committed got modified and changed, then of course you can recommit those dice as the active player. Once that's done, now you're going to resolve all the dice, and you can resolve the dice in any turn order you want. If you resolve them on altars, then you take the altar effect as you resolve them, okay, as you pull them off. If the dice you used on the altar happens to be, takes it all the way down to the zeros, and all of the dice on for that particular altar card are at 0 at this point, that card is now going to be replaced with a new one. If there's a keeper ability on that card, you're going to put that in front of you, and that's now going to be your card, and you're going to get that ability for the rest of the game, or maybe it's a one-use thing. Then once the new card comes out to replace that one on the altar, you're going to reset the track to the number of players, and there may be an effect that's going to happen when it happens. Okay, so like the Kraken comes out, the Kraken, you may instantly get some dice. Okay. If you have dice committed on characters, then you're going to pull the dice off those characters, maybe do damage to them. If it's on yourself, you might be able to heal yourself. All right. And then once the resolve phase is done, then all the dice are going to pass to the player on the left, and they're going to take their turn, and they're going to keep doing this. And you're going to go around and around and around until finally, eventually, you meet your one end game victory condition. Like I said, whether it's the High Priestess is dead or whatever is going to happen. Now, if you're like, if you happen to say die, okay, during the game, and you reveal yourself and say you're a Cabaltist, all right. Well, then what's going to happen is you're going to take a wraith card. You get to go through the deck, you figure out which one you want, and you're going to put that card over the top of your character card. Now you can no longer commit your dice, okay? You're no longer going to roll a regular dice. You're going to get dice equal to whatever's on the card. You're going to do the abilities that are on that particular card, but nobody can commit their dice onto you. So you're still in the game, and you're still, as a kind of wraith ghost form, trying to still help your faction still try to win the game. Okay, so just because you're dead doesn't mean you're out. If you're a Cabaltist, you know what? You better start working on trying to get that High Priestess down if that's what it takes. Okay. And the other thing to mention is when you're committing dice, every character in the upper right-hand corner is going to have a symbol for that particular character. You can only match the symbol of your particular character. In which case, it's going to be a heal if you match it on your character, or if it's a blood drop, you're going to match it on yours. So like if a character happens to have a parchment icon, you can't take a parchment icon and put it on another character. Only they can put those on themselves. It's the biggest thing to remember. All right. But otherwise, that's it. You're just going to go round and round, and you're going to keep going until you meet the victory condition and see who wins the game. So what do I think of Cult of the Deep? Now, Cult of the Deep to me, it's a fascinating game. Now, it's a social deduction game, and I'll admit, I am not a fan of social deduction games. But I saw this game when I was at Gamma earlier this year, and this game looked absolutely interesting for a social deduction game. I was talking to the folks at BA Games, and they luckily they sent me a copy of this game so that I can review it, because this looks like a social deduction game that I can play. I'm not a super fan of the games you just give everybody a card 10, 15 minutes later. Hey, who won? Did you figure this out? Did you figure that out? That's not my style of game. I'm not a big fan of it. But this one here is a game within a game. It's a social deduction game where, yeah, you're trying to figure out, okay, you know who the High Priest is, but you got to figure out, well, who's the faithful? Okay, who's that one person that's going to be working with the High Priest to try to keep him alive? But then you also got to figure out, well, who are the heretics and who are the Kabbalists? And who's trying to kill him, all right? And are they maybe damaging someone else, trying to throw you off their trail? What are they trying to do? But the thing that I like about this game is the game outside the social deduction. It's the game where you're basically, A, trying to stay alive, trying to keep your health up, trying to potentially kill those that you think are against you, but you're also trying to compete for those altars, and you want to try to do those. So there's this whole other game involved. And that's one of the reasons why this particular game, I mean, it's a 45 to 60 minute game. A lot of social deduction games that I've seen are, 5, 10, 15-minute games. They're short games. There's some longer ones, but for the most part, to me, they just seem like they're shorter games, okay? But that's what I like about this game. I like the game within the game. I like how, A, just because you die, you're not out of the game, okay? You come back as a wraith, you can still help your faction still try to win the game, Okay. But like I said, I like those altars. I like how the different characters are going to play against each other. Well, let's see. So you may have a character that may not necessarily be as good as you want it to be for the faction you are. It just kind of depends on how it plays out. But you also want to pay attention to the character that you have, the different altar abilities that come out, and what those are and what those are going to get you. Okay. Because one of the things you really want to try to do is you really want to try to get your Sirens coins. You really want to try to get your Chant coins. I mean, those are actually really important because they're going to allow you to be able to do a lot of additional stuff throughout the game that you may need to do. And without those, you may not have a response, and you may need that response. So you have to figure out when you can play them and when you can hold on to them. Now, one of the things is the Siren coins. The Siren coins are going to allow you to be able to recommit dice, but you can only ever use one of those Siren coins per turn. That's it. So you may have a couple things that you want to move around, but you're limited to one. The Chant coins, when you're committing and changing your dice face, you can use as many of those as you want. Okay, but the only way you're going to get those is mostly through the altar abilities. Okay, and trying to get those altars down, putting your dice on those. So you got to really pay attention to your rerolls and everything else. Now, one of the things I think is really cool and really interesting is the characters. Now, all of the characters in this game are very unique. Okay, I mean, some I think are a little more powerful than others. Some are, they're okay. Some are, oh my gosh, that guy's awesome. You know, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll try to throw them up on the screen, but I mean, you have one character that he can. I think is the faceless one. He can sit there and he can put a token on another character, and he can take that character's ability, and he can utilize it. So, like, I know in one of our games, we had a character that could sit there and, well, on somebody else's response, you know what? He can transfer a life, or I don't remember exactly how it was, but I think he can take a life from that person and give it to himself. Well, the faceless guy happened to steal that, so it was happening like twice per turn. So it was, it kept happening a lot of times, and you have to try to figure out how you can play on those different characters. And trying to utilize those characters as much as you can is a really key factor to this game. Now, to me, one of the hardest parts of this game is trying to figure out who is who. But then again, that's me with social deduction games. I've always had a hard time trying to figure out who is who. So a lot of times it's like, if I'm the high priest, I'm like, oh, okay, well, who's trying to keep me alive? Oh, well, this guy's trying to keep me alive, but he keeps damaging me. I don't know. I just get lost. I get confused. There's just not enough going on in this brain, I guess. But that's kind of the fun of the game. So I really enjoyed the dice aspect of this game. I really enjoyed the altar aspect of this game. I thought it was fantastic. That part of the game was totally great. The social deduction game, for me, wasn't the highlight of the game. I liked the other piece of the game and how is that going to play into the social deduction of the game. I thought that was fascinating. I loved how the two work together. We get done playing this game, and I know everyone at the table, they wanted to play it again. Okay, fantastic game. We loved it. Components on this game, oh my gosh, top notch. I got a lot of cardboard tokens, but they're thick, they're sturdy, they're chunky. Mine had nice little felt bags that all the tokens went in. The bags seemed to be a little bit too much because we were kind of fiddling out, trying to pull all the pieces out of those all the time. So it's almost easier if I can just put all the tokens in a little tray to the side. That was almost easier. But I loved the looks of the bags that were on the table. Absolutely phenomenal. The tarot size cards for everything just really fit the theme. I mean, it's a Cthulhu social deduction game, Cthulhu-ish. So those tarot cards, to me, were just awesome. They fit great. Luckily, I happen to have some sleeves, so in a lot of the videos, you might see some of the stuff is sleeved up, and that's just because I did that myself. I just, if I'm playing a game like this, I don't want any wear on any cards to help sway one person. One person might say, hey, I know that little ding up in that corner is this particular card, so yeah. I throw them on a sleeve, and yeah, good luck, pal. Yeah, it's just me. But top notch. Absolutely loved the components in this game. The only real negative thing I think that I have with this game, well, I have a couple, okay? The real negative that I have with this game is I think the game can sometimes it could be too long. So if you're trying to keep some people alive. So some of the cards that came out, we found it was really in some cases, it was really easy to get a lot of health, and we weren't rolling enough stuff that was going to be able to do damage. So people were staying alive a lot longer. So the game kind of took a little longer to play. Now, I know in some of the games we're constantly looking up rules, making sure we're doing this right and doing some other things right. So there was that played into it a little bit. But yes, this is definitely a longer game, and I think people need to realize that going into it. Okay. Once you really know the game, I think you should be able to get this game done within an hour. But a lot of it, I think, honestly, is going to depend on how those altar cards come out. Or I can't remember. I know I'm calling them altar cards, but I think there's something different. I don't know why, but it's just you just have the altar ability on, and I think that's why I call them that. The other thing that I found with this game, and this was a struggle that we had in our games, was the phases. You have to make sure that you do the phases and complete a phase before you do the next. And that was one of the biggest struggles that people have with this game. You have the roll phase. You have to complete that roll phase before you do anything. And what people wanted to do is they wanted to roll and just start committing all the dice as they're rolling and doing everything. But then someone else would say, oh, hey, well, I got to do this during the roll phase. Oh, well, okay, now we got to pull them all back. And now you get to potentially re-roll some more dice. Oh, okay. So that was one of the hardest parts that I think we had with this game, is trying to make sure that people completed a phase before going on the next, and trying to make sure that you allowed people to react. Okay, so this is one of those games to where you sit down at the game table and there's a little bit of that crosstalk, that little side talk. I mean, we had 5 people sitting at the table, right? So when one person's going and everyone else is waiting, well, okay, these guys might be talking about something else. Well, then they miss the response phase, for example, and they've moved on. But if you're that player and you're like, well, I'm not going to tell them about the response phase, blah, 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 blah. I mean, as a courtesy, I do. I like to and stuff like that, or you just don't hear it. So you have to stay engaged with the game. But you have to make sure you complete one phase before you start the next. And I think that's very critical. And I find that's one of the hardest things I find in any game I play, though, and not just this one, is people following a strict order of flow of game and completing one before they start the next. A lot of people just like to merge them. You can't do that so much in this game. If you can tell nobody has any ability to ever respond, that's okay. But if they ever gain that ability and you forget about it, you got to be careful. So that's probably my only real negative of the game. It can be a little bit long, but being really strict on those phases. I mean, that's about it. But other than that, no, I found this to be a fantastic game. I love this game for a social deduction game. Now, social deduction games to me, as far as rating, they're always rated really low because I just don't, I'm not a fan of them, okay? But I like this one. I really do. And this one here, I can actually see with more plays, I can see this one actually possibly going up for me. It all depends on, I'm curious to see how this game works with me as I get more plays. Okay. So as it is right now, I'm going to give this game a 7. Okay. It's a good game. I'm going to suggest this game. I'll play this game anytime anybody wants to. I like it. It is a good game. I think it can go up from there, but it's got to have a bunch more plays before I really see where it's going to fall down. Okay. Or where it's going to fall in line with me. So there you go. Cult of the Deep. I'm going to give it a 7. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we please ask that you like this video on YouTube, on Facebook, on Board Game Geek, on X, and any platform that we post it to. We ask that you subscribe to us on all those platforms, and please leave a comment. We absolutely love hearing from you guys. We try to respond to everything you guys do. So please comment on all those platforms. Give us your opinions on what you think about this video or anything in general. It can even be about our bad jokes. We're totally cool with that. And also, ladies and gentlemen, if you like the content that we provide here, we humbly ask you click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. The other day I had a dream that I was eating a big giant marshmallow. And then I woke up and my pillow was gone. And that actually may be the case. That actually may be the case, which means that Bailey, down. You gotta learn to stay down. She will just lay there. She's getting more and more. She just. Yeah. All right. I think you're probably correct. Which means I did that combat wrong, but that's okay. So let's do the combat with this one.
All right.
So I'm gonna get 3 dice.
You got a 5 and a 2.
And I got a 6, a 4, and a 2. So this one takes.
So then he
a point of
becomes
damage.
a zombie.
So I end up killing that one. Okay, so what happens is he